As per usual, I will be cutting your regular content to tell you about how you can support me. I feel like I'm reading like a 9th grade level, like a 3rd grader level. I don't usually do this, but I'm gonna have to get used to it if I'm gonna be making more videos. I think the only videos that I won't make a script to is gonna be when I'm doing like reactions. Anyway, I'm looking for around 40k to about 200k subscribers before I drop my webtoons. And so since following is completely free, and since you have many ways to do so, like joining the Discord is one way you can let me know if I have 40k to 200k followers. Now you might be like, why those numbers? Show them the stats. If I make it into a career, I can do more comics, and therefore you will have more content. Anyway, let's jump into Dear Vaporwave, and hopefully you're not afraid of ghosts. So this oh my god, okay, I kind of already spoiled it, but this story stars Topman. I know you guys missed him in the last video, but now Topman is back. Don't doubt yourself next time if you thought it wasn't going to be Topman as the star. And you know, if you guys don't know what I'm talking about Topman not being the star, that means you missed the previous video. Also, one of my videos got like copyrighted by the life code weird people. You know, I'm afraid to like sing it correctly, but yeah, my video got copyrighted, so it might be taken down at some point. I'm trying to have it not be taken down, so it will have less copyrighted content. So if the video before does have copyrighted content, I will be changing it because these are very important videos to me. Anyway, go watch the other video if you don't get the reference about Topman not being the main character. This Topman is a university student at the age of 19. I'm a university student. I wrote these stories when I was 19. I'm 20. I've been 20 for 1 month. Well, technically 3 weeks, but whatever. When all of these videos gets posted, it will probably be 1 month. Anyway, growing up, Topman was always a good kid who followed, who didn't disobey. He followed his parents' rules. He never acted out. He stayed on the straight and narrow. But, you know, eventually he had passion for other things. He had no passion or love for computer science. And so he left the course and he left uni for about a year now into his 4-year course. He did his years, I think it's 2 years, and then you become 19 as early as possible. So, or maybe it might be the first year, and then he dropped out. I'm still deciding on that timeline, cooking it up. But yeah, so that happened, and he's dropped out, and he hasn't attended a single lesson. He hasn't told his parents that he is out of uni. He hasn't told his extended family. Thank you. Anyway, he hasn't told any of his family that he's left. He's gone off to study his one topic that he really likes: ghosts. He has an interest in ghosts and the supernatural, which actually lands him a very interesting role in historian content. My breath. Anyway, it gives him like a very interesting role within like a historian context, going through old files and finding out how these older individuals lived their lives was like an actual job, a historian. And he actually made some impressive discoveries. So he isn't a bum who's just left uni. He's actually doing something and he's making it work. But it's not what he's looking for. He's looking for ghosts in these things, in these little adventures he's going on. Alongside him are his two best friends, who were the first to convince him to drop out. At the same time, his grandfather is deceased. He was one of the technicians at his school, but after his passing, nothing was stopping Topman from achieving his dreams. You know, when you have someone like by your side who will like snitch on like your parents, like, oh, you want to leave uni? I haven't seen you at uni today. I'm gonna tell your parents. But no, he's deceased now. So he just went off to achieve his dreams. He does YouTube conspiracy chats, like what I'm doing, but I'm not conspiracy. But basically, he's making it big on YouTube. He's doing his discoveries, but nothing ghost related was happening. It was kind of like they're just talking about ghosts, or they're going to places where they think ghosts would be. However, the three men knew they were onto something big. Something really big. Something that could prove the ghost's existence to the public eye. Topman wasn't big on that project. He knew a lot, but he was kind of the underdog to like his two seniors. They treated him well, but they treated Topman more of like, not really an equal partner, but more like someone that they hired. And then once they have enough facts and evidence, then they will tell Topman the task that is needed. They also don't want to give him any false hope. However, on one fateful day, the two seniors did find something and wanted to celebrate, and they actually wanted to discuss it with Topman at the local pizza shop that they go to. Topman was so hopeful, and they were too, so they opened the garage door and headed out. However, there floated a real ghost. Enter chapter 1. A real ghost has just appeared before each of the men's eyes, and in an instant the two seniors were turned into books besides Topman, with the hidden knowledge that they were about to tell Topman. And let me explain that again. So the ghost turns the two seniors into books because inside of it will have the information on what the actual ghosts want. And I know this is very similar to Rohan's ability, you know, Heaven's Door. And that was actually the very next thing I was going to talk about, but I think I can do it without the script. So yeah, it's very much like Rohan's abilities. However, there's not much you can do about a book stand. I really wanted to make it a book stand because I wanted to put a very interesting cover on the book. And it is kind of different. If you open the book, like, Here, her book. So let's say you open the book and you go to this page, and let's say it has information on what you're looking at. So this would be the senior, and not only could they look through the information, you can highlight a certain bit that's part of their ability, and that would then take you to the next book that you would need. Basically like a catalog, and then you can turn that into a book and learn more from there. They can also, this ghost can also turn buildings into books. It can turn objects, plants into books and find out their knowledge. But yeah, I will admit there is like the same ghost ability. I guess because stands are like ghosts as well, but there is like that book ability. So I just wanted to make it clear that I do acknowledge that it does have a similarity, but I just really wanted to put a book stand in. I'm gonna try and make it my own, but I am aware of how it looks with the Gurren Lagann, the solo leveling, the um and the other stuff. But no, I promise these are all just coincidences. By the time I realized I was making a book ability, it was then when I realized, oh, it's like JoJo's. And yes, I am a fan of the series. I'm a huge fan. In fact, I'm such a huge fan of the series. I got all these books. I got 2 part 1 books. I mean part 4 books. And I got 1 part 3 book. The ending versus Dio. So yes, I am a fan of the series. I say that, but I haven't seen part 6. But I just recently got Netflix, and the only reason why I didn't watch part 6 was because I wanted to watch it on a TV. Now that I have Netflix on a TV, I will be watching part 6. I don't like to pirate good anime like you guys do. I want to watch it fresh. But yeah. Yeah, I'm a fan. But I'm not a copycat. Okay? Anyway, I'm gonna move on from the Rohan speech. But basically, that information can help you find the path to the secret that the ghost wants. So they end up threatening Topman to stay and not look for his friends. However, that's when the choose your own story starts. And you can choose to not start the story, and just do your own thing. But obviously, you gotta do the story. That's the only thing that, I mean, you can see the timeline in which you don't help your friends. But, you know, to start the story, you have to start the quest. And that's another thing I want to talk about, even though it's a little bit of another stopping thing. There are death options in the show, in the comic, and there are, you know, options which in the beginning, like if you choose to not help out your friends, it will just take you to like a timeline, a story in which you didn't help out your friends, which will be parts long, but you still didn't help out your friends, so it does end in like an ending, and it doesn't start the quest because the whole story is about the quest. That's like the only thing, okay? Unlike the others, you know, the other Topmans that we talk about, this is probably the weakest Topman. He's just a normal guy. He doesn't start off special. Although he is durable, that alone doesn't win him the war against a whole dimension of ghosts. And when I say ghosts, I mean like dragon ghosts, clown ghosts. There's gonna be sun god and moon ghosts. Another comparison, Danny Phantom. Okay. I will admit Danny Phantom was a huge like inspiration. I don't know many ghost stories, but it's just a normal ghost story. It isn't gonna really have any of the crime fighting of Danny Phantom. So it's not really gonna have that Danny Phantom vibe like at all. But I do want to say it because I do realize that Danny Phantom is like a really big show about ghosts. So I did want to include it in my little explanation about plagiarism. I'm just trying to, it's not. But I know you can't just completely trust me when I say stuff like, I'm not copying this person. Because I saw people call Corey Kenshin stuff like Kaiju number 8. I also haven't seen Kaiju number 8. So if anything is like Kaiju number 8, I wouldn't know. Anyway. I'm sure the plot I just fed you sounds something like you know before. That's because it's generic. You know, I still haven't put my little flavors into the story yet. Anyway, let me talk about some plot threads. There is going to be space travel. There's a time where you will leave the planet, come back, and then see it destroyed if you know, take certain actions, and it'll like butterfly effect into that. There's also a timeline where you get trapped in a yandere girl's knife who made a pact with an ancient ghost. You can also meet Father Time and his pond of fishes that which stop time. There's also a character who you'll be fighting for millions of years. He first controls the elements, then he controls space-time, and then he can control the galaxy. That's if you make certain bad decisions. Or decisions, not... I don't really try to put bad decisions. Like, if it's your choice, it's your choice, right? I'm not going to call you a bad person for doing your choice. And once again, you can DM me if you want any more. It is free. The comic is free. There's a demo out. I'll answer any questions. I'm still very small. There's like no competition to talk to me about anything. So even if you are a little bit interested and you want to send a question, send a question. I am willing to answer. And I want to I just want to say how important this is for me. And hope you join the email list. Probably the Discord. Yeah.